Hi, everybody. Good evening. Welcome. I know some of you are still coming on. Here again, we have a very, very special guest this evening. Our first guest for this week, Miss Kanchi Khanna, and so she's going to wave at everyone so that you all know who she is. There she is. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of an introduction before we start, and I'll be asking her some questions. But you all are also more than welcome to ask her some questions. So basically, Miss Kanchi is from a marketing and communications background. She's a specialist in that, and she's been working for over a decade now as communications designer and a design teacher, and also now is in the field of education management. Okay, so if you're wondering who she is, she's actually the director of outreach at KREA University. Okay, I wish she was, or y'all were in front of us so that you could give her a nice big round of applause. But welcome, Ms. Kanchi. Thank you so
I can
much.
imagine that.
Yeah, yeah. So just to get straight into why you're here today, if you could just tell us a little bit about KREA University for students who don't know about it and the philosophy. I know it's very different from some of the other colleges. So if you could just give the students and educators and parents a little bit of background about the university, that would be lovely.
Sangeeta, thank you.
Of course.
So, KREA is a liberal arts and sciences university. We are located in the south, near Chennai, actually north of Chennai. If you move into Andhra Pradesh, you hit the Andhra border as you go northwards from Chennai. There's the special economic zone called Sri City, and that's where we're located. It's a beautiful city, absolutely new, spanking new, and the campus itself is just about 3 or 4 years old. So, KREA is a liberal arts and sciences university, but it has two schools under it. We have a business school, a graduate school of business, where we offer MBAs and PhDs, and then we have an undergraduate school, which is really the liberal school. This school, which we call the School of Interwoven Arts and Sciences, offers 3-year degree courses. All of these courses are residential, courses. But now, of course, thanks to this situation, everyone's at home and learning online.
Wow.
The SIS really, at the SIS, we have pioneered something known as the interwoven learning model. So that is how we're different. There are a lot many liberal universities in the country, but really the interwoven learning model that we pioneered is what really sets KREA apart. By interwoven, we mean that, there is that interdisciplinarity which is offered to students by way of them choosing a major along with a minor. They could take a major in the sciences and take a minor in the humanities or social sciences. But then we've gone beyond that. So, we'd say we're a notch above interdisciplinarity because by design, every course is interdisciplinary and brings in a lot many elements into that discipline from other disciplines.
Right.
So if you're studying physics, you wouldn't be surprised if a historian comes in and talks to you about the evolution of ideas in that particular discipline, right? So by design, the curriculum is very interwoven with other disciplines. And, there are some things that we are very excited about and we've very passionate about, like data analytics, like ethics, like computers. So even if you're a philosophy student at KREA, you still learn all these, right? So it's these being introduced and reintroduced and affirmed and reaffirmed over and over again for your 3 years that you're at KREA.
So just for some of these grade 9, 10 students to understand that entire concept of interdisciplinary, can you give us an example maybe of like of what a student would probably like choose when it, can you just think of maybe a combination that a child would have probably taken?
So I'll actually go back to high school and start from there.
Sure, perfect.
So most universities in India and abroad also will say you can't do economics if you didn't have mathematics in your high school years. You can't do sciences if you didn't take up sciences. So we've sort of pulled the decision making to as early as when they were in class 10. So what subjects you chose sort of decides what you can do later. But, they're just 15 at that point in time. And, what choices they make, what pressures they have at that point in time, we have to understand that. So at KREA, we don't have any prerequisites. So a student who's been studying humanities at school is most welcome to come and study sciences at KREA. Because when we take them in, we're not looking at subject-specific knowledge. We're not evaluating that when we take them in. So when they come in, they may think or they may imagine that I want to do, say, X, Y, Z, and I'm joining KREA because I want to do chemistry. But when they come in, the first year is a foundation course, where they study a whole lot of courses, mandatory ones, which expose them to all disciplines. Sort of overview of all disciplines of and also what studying these would mean for them.
Right.
And you will be surprised at how many of them change their choices in the second year, right? So a student could take up chemistry as his majors and take business studies because as his minor, because he's maybe from a pharmaceutical family, a company that's got a pharmaceutical business, and he wants to understand business along with learning, chemistry or biochemistry. So those kind of things are possible. We know computer science students like to take up psychology a lot.
Right.
We may even introduce design courses. So, nowadays, we strongly believe that innovation happens at the cusp of disciplines.
Right.
So you're just studying one siloed, subject with blinkers on, you're not going to really be innovative, or you're not going to be able to really think out of the box because you don't know what lies outside the box.
Absolutely. And I love that the students have freedom. Sometimes there are students who say, I love the sciences, but I don't necessarily like physics, but I like chemistry and I like bio. I mean, you're giving them that opportunity just to pick what they like in a particular, stream, which I think is so important for some of these children to understand, right?
No, while you say that, Sangeeta, we don't have departments in KREA, we have divisions.
Okay.
Which means that there's a sciences division. So in your physics class, you will get introduced to some bit of life sciences and the chemical sciences.
Oh, how nice. Okay.
So it's not like you'll be completely cut off from
from everything. Right.
Like I said, there would be a history class as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how many students actually apply every year, and how many do you accept?
We've just had one batch come in for our undergrad, and we had about 1,100 applications. We made offers to about 250, and since it was the first time we were starting out our batch, so our program, so about 113 students joined us finally.
Oh, nice.
So these I would say 250 handpicked out of the 1,100. So that was the first year. This year, I think we'll get a lot more applications.
Absolutely.
We've done some outreach. There's been good word of mouth from students who are studying now at KREA. So.
Okay. Yeah, I know. And I've been telling on my webinars, because I meet with these students every day, saying that you all have been doing webinars too, quite a few that are for students and for parents. And, I think they can get onto your website and find those, right? And I know there are students who are talking also about life at KREA and things like that. So just if you could spend a little bit of time talking about the application process. So what are some of the different components that are required in order to apply to KREA? Can you just talk about, and are there any changes like this year because of the situation? If you could just elaborate a little bit for us.
So before I go into the actual process, and it's a two-stage process, I'll talk about the philosophy behind the admissions at KREA. They are, of course, holistic admissions. When we started designing this a year back, we sort of took up an exercise which we call starting from the end. So we wanted to see what were the qualities that we would definitely want a KREA graduate to have, right? And if we work backwards, what should be the values that a student, a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old should bring into the class, so that there is some value add and he becomes what we want him to become. So at KREA, we want our graduates to definitely have a lot of integrity, to be ethical leaders, to be impactful, to sort of be resilient, to be open to change, to be comfortable with uncertainty. So we sort of worked that backwards, and we said if we want them to be ethical leaders, they should definitely have integrity when they come in. So if we want them to be, collaborative, then we should observe them in teams. right? So we work backwards and we sort of design the whole admissions process in that way. When we evaluate students, we are not picking up students and not evaluating them on similar parameters, all of them, because we're building a class and we're building a class of diverse students and not all identical students. So it's not a competitive process, it's a collaborative process. We are trying to see how all of them, when got together, would create a much more beautiful whole, right? A class which has a lot more to offer. So we'll be looking at geographic, economic, diversity of thought, diversity of perspective, diversity of interests. So that's why we ask for so many things in the application form. So it's a two-stage process in which the first stage is an application form, which is available on our website.
Okay.
They start doing the form, and there's a very small fee to it. And I think 500 rupees, which they have to pay once they complete the form and they're ready to submit it. And in that form, we ask them for their academic journey, their grades 9 to 11th grades, and their predicted scores for class 12th. Then we ask them for any extracurricular activities that they've been taking part in, any co-curricular projects that they're very proud of what they've done, any competitive exams they've been taking. It could be the Olympiads, it could be the JEE, whatever they want to share with us. Anything and everything that gives us a complete picture of what they've been doing for the last few years, right? And there's also a personal story. Now, this personal story is not graded, but it's very, very important for us because this really sets the context as to where is this child coming from. And obviously, as the diversity that India has, an IB kid wouldn't have got, a state board kid would probably have not got the opportunities that an IB kid did. So really seeing where they're coming from and, did they make use of the opportunities that they got. So that's the application form. Basis that, we shortlist students to move to the second stage. Not everyone gets called, but 50 to 60% do. And anything can stand out from an application. It could be just your personal story. It could be your extracurriculars or your academics. Whatever does show up. So the next stage is really where KREA is different. And I know the first stage is what a whole lot of colleges do. Why we're different here is because now we have a fair idea of their academic strength. We do know a lot about what else they'd like to do, but there are other qualities that we would like to evaluate, right? So the second stage evaluates your curiosity, your collaboration, your open-mindedness, your empathy towards others, and how socially conscious you are, and also your academic strength in a different way. Because scores have a story to tell, and the Indian boards especially, they're so much inclined towards, they lean so heavily on rote learning. So you really can't gauge the intelligence or the academic strength of a student from those grades. So here we introduce them to a case study. And that case study, how do they engage with that? It's an open-ended kind of a case study. It's not a business case study. What kind of questions are they asking? How do they think about it? So we ask them to write a personal, an essay which they write, individual essay which they write about what they think about the case study. After that, they get into groups, and then they do the same case study in a group. Right? So it's individual and it's a group study, and then it's followed by a one-on-one interview with a panelist. So again, it's not an interview really; it's more of a conversation, because we also observed that in the groups, a lot of people were not very open, wouldn't speak up. They were introverts. So we really wanted to draw them out in a one-on-one as well. So that all that happens in the KIC, the second stage. There's also a short quantitative test. That's really like a 30-minute test. And, so we used to do all this in a very interesting way. We would take them out for a field trip, and the case study would be presented to them there. So that the students just love. But because we are in these difficult times and everything has come to a standstill and we really can't do much, so we've converted very quickly all these case studies to online case studies. So everything else remains same. So instead of
Same.
we would get 15 to 20 students on a particular day to a particular field visit. Now we do it in batches of 5 to 6 only. And
Okay.
it's not that they all meet each other on the same day, because we realized that, when we were doing it in the physical sense, they would eat together, go out in the bus
Right.
together, get to know each other. So the comfort level was very, very strong.
Different. Yeah.
But now we get them start talking to each other a day prior. They
Okay.
get it, they ask, they generally they talk about everything under the sun, and they get to know each other, so that the next day, when the actual case study happens, they're familiar with each other.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. I just want to say I've been talking to these students about 21st century skills or employability skills, and your whole step two is about that. All these things that you are like, curiosity and creativity and collaboration, and all of these are what I've been telling them, kind of drilling into their head, saying this is when you need to start. And so yesterday we were talking about critical skills. Students, if you remember, we were talking about critical skills, critical thinking skills, and I think this is a very important step to be able to think critically, don't you think, Ms. Kanchi? I mean, this is where you want them to actually think critically. So, students, if you were here yesterday, now you know where these skills are going to come into use. Okay. So, just from, I'm sure you've seen a lot of profiles, and so is there one that has stood out in your mind of why, and why did it impress you? Just think to all the ones that maybe the 250 that, and maybe one or two that. Maybe one. Let's talk
No,
about.
I don't think I can recall top of my head the entire profile, but there are
Right.
people who've set up their own entrepreneurial ventures. There are kids who are bloggers and had followers in thousands. There were kids who've done social impact internships and solid volunteering work for years before they joined us. There
Absolutely.
are people who are Bharatanatyam dancers and who've been doing it since the age of 2 or 3. So we've got an amazing set of kids.
Kids.
In fact, there was one who she joined us, and within days she had talked to villagers around and the community around. So we have a small town around it. It's not like Chennai is that close by. She
Right.
had sort of what do you call that? She had mobilized people to get a van to the campus every day, which would pick up fresh food that wasn't used, distributed to. So she did all of that on her own, without the faculty or the staff or anyone knowing about it. So she had sort of arranged for the food to be picked up and sent out to people where they need it. So these are very socially, environmentally aware students.
Of
I
course.
think that's what really speaks to us. We want kids who are conscious of what they're doing and why they are doing it. And I keep telling
Absolutely.
people to keep asking themselves the question why.
Why?
Why is it that I'm doing what I'm doing? And any student who's done that exercise of really thinking his activities, his interests, and everything through, will be a very strong and purposeful leader. And that's the kind of students we want, really.
Absolutely. So, students, it doesn't mean just because she listed some of these things that students have done, that's a guarantee for you to get into. That's not what she's saying. It's about standing out, right? It's about what is going to make your application stand out from everybody else. And I think that's what you need to start looking at. This is a great time in order for you to start doing that, in order to start thinking about what are your strengths, what are your interests, what are your hobbies, what is something that will make your application stand out. And really, I think that's all you were trying to highlight, right, Kanchi? I mean, just talking about what students have done. So it doesn't mean this is what you need to do. So there was a question last time, and I think I'll ask you this. So there was a student who talked about how his academics is average and his extracurriculars are also kind of average, or maybe little above average. I mean, does one compensate for the other, or do you need everything to be like, if there's an average student but their profile or extracurriculars are really pretty strong, do they somehow maybe still stand a chance? Of course there's stage two, but at least on step one level, if they've done impressive work, will that help?
I think it will. And in such a case, if the extracurriculars are average and if the academics is average as well, then I think they should use the opportunity to write their personal story very well and
Right.
tell us what they really stand for, or what is it that they're very passionate about. And if that is a compelling enough story, then we'll definitely call them for the second round, and then they have the opportunity to engage with the case study so well that we are even confident of their academic strength. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. So, students, you have different opportunities in order to prove yourself. Academics, if it's amazing, good. Start working on your profile, which is very important. If you need help, you can reach out to us. We've put a link right on top of the chat box. Please put your name in there. We're happy to help you with starting to put your profile together, at least to start to brainstorm, and then you've got a personal story. So for grade 12 students, are your applications still open, Ms. Kanchi?
Yeah, we're open. So the last date to apply to KREA is May 17th. We may or may not have a fourth round. I'm not very sure of that, but we
Right.
are getting a lot of applications. So the best time to apply is now, because they're just
Now,
sitting and
yeah.
waiting for their exams.
And so, students, if you have applied to the US and you're still thinking about, it's very, very important. I've said this before, have backup universities. KREA is a great opportunity. It's going to give you the same kind of exposure as you would if you went to the States. I'm very confidently saying that, Ms. Kanchi, because I know the philosophy behind what you all follow. And you can back me up if you just want to spend a few minutes talking about how if a child decides not to go to the US under the current situation, how they're still going to kind of benefit in coming to KREA.
So one, KREA's undergraduate program is new, but the collective wisdom of the faculty isn't. We've got people who worked and researched across the world and have many years behind themselves and very strong in whatever they are doing, in whatever disciplines they belong to, whether it's research or whether it's teaching. So they're teachers, they're mentors, they've done this for a long time. And KREA has very strong academic strength, academic experts. In fact, if you're following us, you'd see that we've got a number of master classes coming up in the next week. So that's one. And so when you're studying from the best. You're studying from professors from Oxford and Cambridge and Harvard and Stanford and the likes, right? One is that. The other is that we have tie-ups with foreign universities. We have tie-ups, most importantly, with an organization called the Academic Internship Council, to which a lot of the IVs and the top universities subscribe. And this is an organization which arranges for internships, not academic immersions, but internships across the world in some 20 to 30 countries. So our
So your students travel? Oh,
so we would
wow.
have this summer, but it's just that everything's locked down right now. But there could be online internships. Companies are very quickly adapting and offering those to students.
Right.
So Academic Internship Council will give you opportunities across the world for any internship. And for academic immersions, then we have tie-ups with universities. So they're also in the process of finalizing with Oxford and Chicago and a lot more. So you're sitting here, you're doing your undergrad here, but then you're getting the global exposure. So you could do a semester somewhere, you could do an internship somewhere else. So those kind of tie-ups will give you that exposure.
Yes, of course. So Manish Jain, that was one of the students who's listening to us today. He was asking about any international exchange arrangements. So you've already talked about it. So you Chicago, there's many, either in terms of internships or you can go for a semester. Manish is what Ms. Kanchi is talking about. Ragvi Tilak is
It's
asking.
actually up on the website if they want to see the number of universities.
Okay, it's all on the website. Okay, and there's a short video also. We didn't play it today because we don't want to spend time doing that. But if you all want to know more about KREA University, you can go on to their website and watch the video, take a look at the campus, the facilities that they have, and I know it's pretty impressive. There's Ragvi who's asking, is SAT recommended? So is that something that you all need?
No, it's not mandatory. But in these times, yes, actually, it would be a good idea to send us your SAT scores because you still haven't taken your board exams and we
Exam.
haven't got your results. So an SAT could get you a firm offer much before your board results come in, right?
Right.
And then all you have to do is to be able to clear your boards. Yeah. So you don't need don't need to match your predictors. If you have a good SAT score, we base our
Oh,
offer
nice.
on SAT score, right?
Oh,
So it's a good idea, but I don't know when SAT will happen again. And if you
I
haven't already,
know. Exactly. Yeah.
but don't worry, it's not mandatory for KREA.
It's not okay. So, Rugby, if you do have a really good SAT score, it's worth sending it. But if it's not that great, maybe not. Okay. Aditi, you're asking, is this for students after grade 10 or 12? It's undergraduate programs. I'm just going to go ahead and answer. So, it's after grade 12 that you'll be applying to KREA universities. Vedansh is asking, Kanchi, what are the qualities which make a personal profile strong?
Um, I would say I would put first intellectual curiosity. We in fact had a profile last year of a student who had not scored very high in his board exams. He had just I think 75 or something like that percentage, and we were generally closing at students above 90 and all. But something about his application stood out, something in his personal story. We just decided to talk to him and bring him in for the second stage. And Sangeeta, you'll be surprised, this kid just blew us away. He was so good in the way he engaged with the case study. Everyone on the committee just wanted to take him in, right?
Oh,
So there's intellectual curiosity is so very different from your academic scores. So if you've really engaged with subjects, if you've really engaged with the text, understood the context, and really you're passionate about that subject, you will be able to hold those conversations with us. So I think that's one, definitely, and all the others that I mentioned, of being curious, of being collaborative, of being
collaborative.
empathetic,
Yeah.
open-minded, thinking about social issues, being passionate about them. All these things are some things that we
Essential.
appreciate and value a lot.
Value. Vedansh, so that would answer your question about what kind of qualities does KREA University find should be a must in an applicant. So these are some of the things. If you can portray some of these things even in your application or even in these first stage or second stage, that would be great. Joyce Brito is asking, is the written test, is it based on general aptitude or specific subjects?
No, not on specific subjects at all. Like I mentioned, it's a case study. It's an open-ended case study. Like, we could take you to a place which is commercial, like the Connaught Place in Delhi, or it could be a Snake Park in Chennai. It could be any social or a place, or it could be a commercial area. It could be a museum. It could be any of these, and we are really asking you to look at it using different lenses and thinking of it in different perspectives, because every case study or case problem will have multiple ways of looking at it. There could be a historical angle to it, there could be a political angle to it, there could be the people's psyche behind it. So how many lenses are you using to look at the case? So having that capability of looking at problems from a 360 kind of a viewpoint is something that we really appreciate. And sorry, I lost track of the question.
No, just about what kind of, is it a general aptitude or a specific subjects
So
test?
this is not
Yeah.
subject specific
Not
at
but
all.
yeah.
And even the quantitative test is a logical reasoning multiple choice test
Yeah.
based on grade 10th mathematics, things like probability and quadratic equations, or the very basic stuff.
Okay, thank you. Harfateh is asking, why would someone choose KREA over a college like UBC, for example, University of British Columbia?
This is a great course. I mean, why just UBC? I would say we have fantastic universities across the world, right? So your choice of where to study would depend on what subject you're looking at, what kind of education you're looking at, also the affordability factor. Do you want to, in these times, do you want to move out to that many distances. So all that are things that you will have to evaluate and come to a decision. KREA is new; it's very new. We don't have. I'll say we don't have the alumni networks, or we don't have that history behind us. But that could be taken as a negative, but also a positive. It's a
Positive, of course.
the
Yeah.
first batch that came in had the opportunity to really make the culture, set the tone of how the student body is going to be at KREA for years to come. So it's an exciting space. A new university is also always a very exciting space. What people worry about in a new university is that the credibility, will it last? What if it shuts down? So for that, you just have to look at the kind of people who are backing it. I mean, we've got the who's who of India and the world backing it, and it's a beautifully designed program. So I don't think anything is holding people back from choosing KREA over any of the best universities abroad. But really, you have to decide. That. So
Yeah.
I just had one more thing here. So we've our tie-ups, Sangeeta, are not like broad MOUs that say, oh, we have a tie-up with King's College. We do. But we've tied up curriculum to curriculum across the world, right? So
Right.
we have an environmental sciences program. We've tied up with James Cook in Australia, which has one of the best biodiversity programs, so that our environmental students study students can go there and maybe do a project at the Great Barrier Reef or something like that. So it's very
Wow.
curriculum to curriculum kind of matching that we've done.
Yeah.
We are giving you those opportunities as well.
And sometimes those make more sense, when you're doing something like that. You'd rather go in your area of interest than go there and do something completely different. And Harfateh, I just want to tell you, sometimes when you're comparing colleges, it's a lot more than just, names or all of that. You have to look at your own learning styles, and you have to look at what are you going to get out of going to a particular university. So don't just go by brand names. Go by what would be the best fit for you in terms of, how the class is going to be, what are the subject combinations going to be like, what exposure are you going to get, and Miss Kanchi has just told you of the different types of exposure that you're going to get. And it's wonderful. It's here. You don't even have to leave the country and go outside to have this kind of educational exposure. Okay. So, and I had a question, Ms. Kanchi. What about scholarships? Do you offer student scholarships or?
So we've got financial assistance, Sangeeta. It's completely need-based. Our admissions process is need-blind. Both the departments, there's a firewall between the two. So students who are shortlisted, we offer them the opportunity to fill up the financial assistance form, and then that form goes to the other department. So admissions will give their results irrespective of what the financial aid is saying. And financial aid will look at all your family need. It'll look at the family income, the assets, the dependents, everything, have an interview with the parents to understand what kind of need is actually there and how much we can pay off, right?
Oh, that's amazing. So students can apply for financial need.
If they're shortlisted, that's when we open up.
Then you open up. Okay, fair enough. Kundratur wants to know if there is any integrated coaching in the campus for civil services.
No.
You don't.
We don't have any coaching of the sort. We've got bridge programs in English, in mathematics, in sciences. Why? Because I told you we don't look at prerequisites.
Right.
So students who come in and want to take up something which they haven't previously studied, we have bridge programs for that.
Yeah.
But if he's looking at the civil services, I think it's a good idea to wherever he studies to take up political science, economics, and those kind of combinations. And studying in a liberal program would allow him to do that.
Yeah.
Whatever electives he wants and put together his own interests.
Yeah. So Kundrathur, you could actually, take something like political science and things like that, study that, do your undergraduation, and in the meantime, maybe do your independent work in getting ready for these exams. I think a lot of students, and then you get to do not just only political science. You can do psychology, you can do economics. You can actually history. I'm sure you'll have that too. Right, Ms. Kanchi? Yeah. There's
if I may just interrupt you for a second. There are 35 courses that they need to finish when they are here for their graduation. Out of those, 11 are the mandatory courses. About 15 are towards a major. they are all left with about 8 or 9 courses to play around with.
Oh, they can
So
choose what
those they can choose across disciplines or choose them all in discipline and do a minor and maybe even convert that to a second major later. So,
Oh, so they could graduate with two majors if they wanted. There's Rowan who wants to know, so out of those 35, do you have music?
Music is so creative expressions is a very strong thread. We call this the interweave. So music and creative expressions is very strong. We have some very good musicians on board. We've got Anil Srinivasan, who's a pianist of world acclaim. We have we've got Carnatic singers, we've got dancers. So there's a lot of art forms being explored here at KREA. We are offering it as a major, but we're offering it together as an arts major.
Okay.
So the arts major has a component of performing arts, and it has components of appreciation and history of art and all that put together, because
Right.
this is liberal studies, right? It's not an art college. So we have all of that under the art major, and you can choose what you want to take up as the performance part of it. You could take up singing, or you could take up dance, or playing an instrument, or whatever you want.
Oh, nice. Okay. There's lots of kids asking about what kind of courses. It's all on the website. All the courses that they offer are on the website. So you can go and see. You do have commerce based like business, and you are offering, right?
Yeah. So business studies is being offered as a minor right now. In a couple of years, we do intend to convert that to a major as well. But we have our own business school on the campus, which is the graduate school of business. Right?
Oh, yeah, that's after, right? If they want to. And you all don't have an integrated course as of
We
now.
don't. Not till.
Okay. Kashish wants to know, do you accept JEE scores? That's one.
So we'll accept any of those scores. The application form will have space for you to share any of those scores. These scores will do nothing but give us more confidence in your academic strength, right? So if it's a good score, do share it with us.
Okay, I hope you understood that. Also, Vedansh is wanting to know, does KREA focus more on academics or discipline building? I think that's a good question.
I think really good question, actually.
Really nice question. Yeah.
We don't believe in enforcing discipline. We believe in self-discipline. So our students have written their own constitution, have formed their own government, and they have a voice in everything that affects them. And all management and faculty are very open to sitting across the table with students and discussing and coming to a common ground as to policies. And they are really a responsible lot, and we encourage them to sort of self-regulate and self-monitor, and not really for us to lay down that many
rules. Absolutely. Good. Okay. There are lots of students who are asking about science courses. So can you briefly, I don't know if you have it in front of you, do you know what kind of science courses you all offer? Then that'll just cover
yeah, I could do that actually. Give me a minute. I'll share the screen, and they'll be able to sort of.
Yeah, while you do that, students, I know a lot of you are asking about profiles and what you need. If you need help from our side, from Univariety as counselors, please fill out that form that you see on the sticky note, and then we're happy to get in touch with you and get you, the attributes, the characteristics that KREA is looking for, and therefore it's important to match some of the activities that you do with that. So if you need help, just put your information down. Anyway, you'll have everyone who was on the webinar, Ms. Kanchi, so you'll have that information. While you're doing that?
Your entire screen, right?
Yes, just click on that, and then it'll say share underneath.
Actually, the share option is not moving, but anyway, let me just.
Yeah, or if you can
just read it out. I'll just read it. So we've got under BA honors, we've got economics, history, literature, political science, social studies, and arts. Under BScs, we've got computer science, biological sciences, environmental sciences, mathematics, physics, chemistry, and psychology.
Okay.
Right? So those are the majors that we're offering. So any one of those majors you could pick up, and you could combine two, you could combine any subjects actually.
So there is, Neerav was asking if there's corporate law. No, there's no corporate law. And another, Vedansh was again asking, is there mechanical engineering? No, they don't have mechanical engineering. Okay. And then, so then we just read out all the science courses. You've heard about that. And there was Dhriti who was asking, ma'am, what do we need to write in our personal story?
I'll answer what she's asking. So about the personal story, what you really need to understand is that this is our window into, our peek into who you are really. So there's a story that your academic scores and your extracurriculars are telling us, but obviously you're much more than that, right? You're an individual who has some strong interests or some strong passions. So use this opportunity or personal story space to really tell us about who you are. And to be able to build this up, I'll tell you how to go about this. So there is a set of activities that you've done. So ask yourself the question, why did I do this? That'll lead you to your interests. And then when you know your interests, again ask, why do I have these interests? And that'll take you back to who you are, your personality. I'll give you an example. So there are a lot of students who come to me saying, oh, I love to do, I've taken part in MUNs. So I ask them, why would you do the MUN? Why did you do it? They all come up with different answers. There are some who say, I love writing the speeches because I'm a writer. Some of them say, I love debating, so I'm a debater, and that's why I attend the MUNs. One of them said, I just love to do the research. I don't want to debate or stand there or do anything, but I love to do the research behind it. So you understand, each one of them came up with different interest areas.
Right.
And then when I asked them, so why do you like to write? So she says, I'm somebody who loves to observe. So see, the whole story got built up. She's somebody who loves to observe. She loves to look at people, observe them in their, natural forms. And so that built up the whole story.
Right.
So your activities are telling us just what you did. But why did you do those should come from your story.
Absolutely. That's great. I hope you got your answer from that. There's a student who's asking, can we combine one subject from a BA course with one from a BSc course? But you all don't. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can. Yes. That's the whole magic of, doing a program like this. Okay. There's a grade 10 student saying, I'm in 10th. How do I develop the skills for the case study?
Engage with text and engage with whatever is being presented to you. So whenever you come across something, what we do is we just skim the surface. We just look at it and move forward. How many times have you gone? So which city is he from, if I can ask him?
I don't know. Neerav, which city are you from? You're going to have to answer that. Just put it in the chat box, which city you're from, okay? And then I'm sure he'll write it. Okay.
So say he's from Delhi and been to Jantar Mantar like 100 times, right? How often have you stopped there and thought about it and thought about, what motivated people to make that, or what's the history behind it, or how did this space get used, 100 years back, and how is this space being used now, and why is it being used now?
He's in Mumbai. He's in Mumbai.
Yeah.
He's in Mumbai. Yeah.
The Gateway of India. What were people doing over there at that now, and how are people using it? So have you thought of these things? And if you go to the Gateway of India, it's an economic center. There are people selling there, there are tourists being brought there, there's the whole boats coming in, there's so much of business happening over there. It's also a tourist spot. It's also very close to Mumbaikar's heart. So think about so many ways of looking at that particular place. So that's what it's really about, for you to think about it in wearing multiple different lenses not just one.
And I think that's what you'll also train them to do, right? Once they come in there, you'll train them a lot on how to do that. Okay, the questions are just pouring in. Is there any way that students can get in touch with you? Is there anywhere, even on your website, that they could probably ask queries? Is that possible?
Yeah, so there's an email ID and a phone number given on the website. They can write to
You
us.
can write it. Okay.
But Sangeeta, I don't mind sharing my email ID with them.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Even if I can't answer them myself, I'll have somebody from them,
From
team connect with them and we'll answer. Not a problem.
Okay, perfect. So then maybe today, when we're sending them a thank you email, can we go ahead and send your email address with that?
My and then there's ask at KREA. So ask at krea.edu.in. They can write to those and somebody will definitely reply to them.
Reply. Okay, and just a few more I'm going to ask because you're here.
I'm fine. I have the
Oh,
time.
you have time. Okay, great. So somebody's asking about sports facilities at KREA, and is that something that you all give importance to?
Yeah. So I'll see if I can pull out that slide and show them. So we have a huge campus. It's about 40 acres. It's not the whole thing is not built up. It's got fantastic, we've left a lot of it natural actually. So it's got walking trails, jogging
Oh,
trails all
lovely.
around it. We've got we've got a water body which runs all around it. So it's really beautiful. And so I'm just going to share the presentation. Can you see that, Sangeeta?
Yes, absolutely.
I've become
Yes.
a pro at it now.
Yeah, you have. So you
So
do you offer it as a major? No, right? It's just something that they have. It's a facility
no,
that you're.
yeah. So we have a gym. We've got playing fields for football, cricket, volleyball. For cricket, we've also got separate cricket nets to practice. We've got an indoor badminton court also. We've got TT, and we've got a lot of other indoor games. In fact, there are student lounges. There are so many places where they can, sort of get together, spend time with each other, and
So
generally,
everything, even like grocery, I think I just saw like a little supermarket and
there
an
is.
ATM. You have everything. It's all self-contained, I'm guessing.
There's a salon as well for them to, go to.
Okay, that's excellent. There was Dr. Mega was asking how the research facilities in KREA.
KREA is it's in our mission really. We want to work for humanities, and to teach our students to deal with uncertainty. So, research is a very, very strong part of KREA's plan ahead. In fact, Kiran Majumdar Shaw is really leading the research piece at KREA, and most universities you'll see that faculty who are senior are taking up research and junior faculty not. But in KREA, even the very junior most faculty are encouraged to take up research, and there's a special research fellowships for them, right? So all of them will do research. The undergraduate program is an honors program, which means there's a capstone thesis for them to do in those 3 years. If they stay back for the 4th year, they do a senior thesis. So yes, research is a strong part of whatever they do. In fact, assignments, then there are hardly any exams and tests as such. They have to write papers. So they learn academic writing in the very first year.
Right. Okay, good. Dr. Mega, I hope she's answered your question. Neerav, you wanted to know about the business school. That's for the master's level. I've just gone ahead and answered that question for you. There were two students who wanted to know if you have exchange programs for AI and for graphic designing. Are those programs you offer?
No, those are not programs we offer, but yes, KREA is very clear that we want our students to be very comfortable with technology. Right. And we understand that students are, they learn differently from how we learn, right? So we have a very high-end media lab in the campus, which has tied up with a firm in the US, and where we develop AR and VR modules for learning, at the faculty level, and the students also learn how to develop these modules. Okay. So you'll see all these kids going there and playing around and things. So that's there, yes. But for AI and all, we will definitely have tie-ups. You'll have to read the partnerships and see specifically if any of the partner universities is offering it, and definitely you can do that.
And design, do you all offer design? Is that something?
Not design, but design thinking, yes.
Design thinking. Oh, okay. Archana wants to know, is the university UGC recognized?
So Archana, UGC, we are listed on the UGC website. We are a Andhra state private university, which means that we are government recognized. You can go for civil services, for government jobs. You can all do all that. Even if at any point we don't get UGC recognized. So UGC will give its final recognition after a university has been functional for 2 years. It comes and does an inspection then, and with its final recommendations, it gives you the final approval. So we still haven't finished those 2 years, but we are listed on their website. We have submitted all the documents, everything that had to be done. And we are completely compliant with it. So I don't see any problems in that coming when it should come.
Okay. Sarabjit is asking about music facilities. Yes, they do have music facilities. Somebody else wanted to know whether you'll offer drums or is there any other? Do you know if you'll have
So
drums?
there's a lot of instruments that the students have come in and bought.
Yeah. So then there is. So yes, you can. It would be. So I'll just last couple of questions. There are, like I mentioned before, there are people asking me if there's engineering. No, there is no engineering, but we saw the BSc courses and also the BA courses. Aditi, you're asking me if I want to do marketing and communication design, would you recommend an arts college or a liberal arts college? I would say liberal arts, because that gives you so much more of an exposure. Arts will be very, very specific. So I highly recommend a liberal arts. There was one student who wanted to know what would be the difference between Ashoka and KREA.
I have been asked that question so often that I could answer that in my sleep. So I was the director outreach for Ashoka for 3 years, over 3 years. And, it's interesting to see how beautifully the two organizations, the two institutions have grown over these last few years. So Ashoka is a fantastic place to study. They have wonderful teachers, and they were really pioneers in bringing this kind of education and this quality of education to India. So it's a fantastic place. KREA is also quality-wise at par with that. We are newer. We are in the south, Ashoka's in the north. So whichever of the two speaks to you, please choose that one. I think they're both great seats of learning.
Yeah, it all depends. Yes, absolutely. Great response. I like that. Neerav wants to know, do all the students stay on campus or the students who are day scholars?
It's a residence program, but now, Neeraj, we really don't know when we'll be able to bring the students back. So online classes are happening. If we need to do that for a semester, we'll go ahead and do it. We're equipped for it.
Okay, excellent. All right. So, students, I know a lot of you are asking me questions about profiles. Please go ahead and fill out that form just so that we can start to assist you, whether you're in grade 9, 10, 11. Also, after this webinar, we will be sending you an email. We will send you Ms. Kanchi's email address, and also ask@KREA. Is that what you said?
ask@KREA.edu.in.
edu.in. So we'll be sending you both of those. Please feel free to get in touch with either us at Univariety, or you can get in touch with Ms. Kanchi directly. Vinod T, you've asked me about subject choices, so it's different from KREA. If you could write to me at guideme@univariety.com, I can help you with that decision. If there are any other subject related, you're still looking and wondering, some of you have asked me about archaeology and architecture, please go on to the KREA website, spend some time there to see what you can major in, what you can minor in, so that you can see whether it's going to be a good fit for you. They're still open for application. So grade 12 students, jump on it. Now's your chance. Okay. So definitely get out there, fill out an application, start working on your profile. You heard how important it is to have all of those things that makes you stand out. So please go ahead and fill out that form on the sticky part, on the sticky note above the chat box. Ms. Kanchi, I just want to say a big thank you to you. Thank you. You have given us 54 minutes of your day today, and we are very, very appreciative.
So thank you to you for getting me on here.
Of course. hopefully we can do more like this and talk about other things that are coming up.
Sangeeta, if there is a form that they're filling for you, and if they are going to register their interest with you, then I think it would be better if we get it through you rather than on my. Maybe I might miss out.
No, what they are filling out here is, so we help them with building their profile. So then we are just asking them to fill that out. But if any of you are interested in KREA, please, you can write to me at guideme@univariety.com, and then I can just pass on that information to you.
I think that'd be
no problem at all. All right. Arpan, write to me, and then I can help you because you're asking me questions that are not related to KREA. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Kanchi. See you, everybody. Tomorrow we'll be talking about factors that you need to keep in mind while choosing a college, so you don't want to miss out. Come join me tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Bye. Bye, Ms. Kanchi.